So what, you are not fully vaccinated?
I am vaccinated with the outbreaks at the school and the incidences of COVID within the classroom and contact within the classroom and quarantined kids. It's, I'm 64. I'm not taking any chances. Yeah, so I'm just not taking any chances.
I'm 72. I'm fully vaxxed, but I have grandchildren living at home. I have one granddaughter who's in high school and the other's in college.
So, but yeah, I'm dealing with 70 kids a day. And the outbreaks, I'll open up at 43. Mine says it's 42 for COVID counts. So,
and that's where the numbers are growing.
Make sure you read this letter that we did not have before.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. I have seen the agenda, but I haven't seen the attachment. No. This is May 24th. No, these are 3 copies of May 24th. So this is...
Get the phone fixed, Susan, today? I was going to email Walter and say, first day back from vacation, shut the phones off, you can ease back into it.
Linda, certified, submitted, not the most current. Continue. Alrighty then. I like that. Recommendation. Every now and then. And of course I brought it mask on just to read. Should we be modeling good behavior here? I put my mask on.
Minutes.
So this is first.
Minutes.
Yes, minutes, and new cases, Andrews is first, and they're the ones.
Tim, you're just here for
These are
to
liaison.
watch the liaison. That's the word. Thanks.
Liaison.
Okay.
Yeah,
Although, we
say
can't.
no vote, just there.
Just observations.
Here to take notes for the public, for you guys.
Great.
Tell them how real you are.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to refer to. New language.
I will explain all that.
Okay.
Specifically
Thank you.
regarding
Justin, if you could read that and just make sure you,
Is Betsy,
okay?
Yeah.
That's for you.
Okay. Thanks.
is Betsy with us? Or is she behind?
I'm going to explain all that.
But is she on here?
Not yet,
Because she'll be like behind
because you have to
us?
vote
We need to vote
first.
to authorize it.
You have to vote to authorize it,
Right.
and then Susan is ready if
Hey,
you
hit
vote
the
to
button.
Yeah, I was
authorize
just thinking that if we do
Yeah, her
vote,
win.
how's she gonna see us? Is there a
it. There
camera
is a camera
pointing this way?
somewhere. Where's, oh, right there. She's looking right at you.
Well, if that's where the camera is, I guess we like that, because for some reason the way this table is set up, I thought the camera was over there.
You good? All right. Yeah. City plans received.
Oh,
Non-conforming lot. Expansion.
the second page, Justin, the second page of that meeting is open to the public. You'll have to follow along on that.
Sure.
If we approve it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
forget who that is.
What's that? All right. How's that, Linda? I will call the Zoning Board of Adjustments to order today, September 27th, approximately 6:30 p.m. Ask Linda Smith to address some internal business at this time.
Thank you. The first item I'd like to bring up is the board had a request from our other member to attend electronically. You have a copy of the statute that allows for that. There's specific criteria that is required. The person must be able to see, you must be able to communicate 2 ways. And there's several stipulations that are required if you do approve that. But first, the board should consider whether you would want to allow that. If you vote to do that tonight, then going forward, that would be considered part of your process to allow that.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've had a chance to read, but I did provide you with the statute. I think Ted may be familiar with it already. And
Mr. Chairman, I so move, which is to say specifically, I move that the Zoning Board of Adjustment agree to allow participation by full board members electronically tonight and henceforth.
All right.
In full compliance with the state requirements, I believe we are easily in compliance with them. We have a pretty good setup here. Therefore, I am making that formal motion.
All right. You have a motion. Pam, how do you feel after reading? All right. Sure. Ted, if you could just make sure you speak into the mic when you speak, just for the for everybody watching live. Thank you.
you need another one here.
I got a green light.
If you,
I'm not well lit.
well, that's good.
Yes.
I'm not lit yet. Here we go. Oh, I got the clown one. Just 1 second.
Sure.
I will second the motion.
All right. Any further discussion on it? I agree. I'm in favor of it too. So, Ted, how do you vote?
In favor? Aye.
Pam, how do you vote?
Aye.
And myself, I vote in favor. So following that, now, Linda, I just go and...
You have to wait a minute while
Okay.
Susan connects. While she's doing that, I'll go on with the other internal business that I'd like to bring up. The first case that we have tonight, it only came up recently, and you have some updated information. And in checking that updated information that came in, it's clear that the building permit, certified plot plan that was submitted with the building permit, as well as the certified plot plan that was submitted with the variance applications, do not reflect the current updated plans that, it's my understanding, the applicant wants to go forward with. My initial concern was that there wasn't a butter that had contacted me and asked numerous questions about distances to lot lines and that type of thing on Friday, and said that they were going to review it over the weekend. My initial thought was to suggest that you continue the whole application until such time as the new information could be put out. I have since received an email from that abutter who was able to review those updated plans today, apparently made a connection, not by me, by someone, either the applicant or the applicant's designer. So I think it would be prudent to hear the case tonight. However, because of the fact that there may be abutters who would want to see that updated plan,
Plus us.
I think they're going to provide it to you tonight, as well as you have a person that's coming in electronically who doesn't have access to it.
Right.
And to clarify the public notice, which I feel is legally defendable, but it did not include specific language about the setback for the house.
Yep.
So I think in light of all that, I think it would be reasonable to hear their testimony tonight and then do your deliberations at another meeting. And before that deliberations, keep the public portion open so that anyone who may have wanted to comment on the updated plans would have time to do that at the beginning of the next meeting. Or you can continue. It's entirely up to you whether you want to proceed that way.
Okay.
I will also bring to your attention the fact that the second case, it came to light after that was processed, that there is an additional relief that's needed on that case. But again, I don't see any reason not that you shouldn't proceed with what you have. You could actually hear any aspect of that, because they will have to come back regardless next month or whenever they so choose to get the additional relief.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
So now that Ms. Colburn's on, I would suggest that you follow those items on that list. And I would also strongly suggest that for each case, especially in light of the fact you have somebody that's participating electronically, to confirm with any applicant before you start that they're satisfied with the manner of 3 as a quorum and we don't have a full board.
Okay.
And have them confirm before you start their case. And I think that's...
So, do you want input from us on, or are we just going to begin?
I was figuring we could
You need to address that first.
get Betsy squared away,
Okay.
and then we can proceed to what Linda just kind of covered. If you want to do that,
Yep.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
You the boss.
I wouldn't go that far. Let's see. Let's see. Betsy, what's the reason you can't reasonably participate in attending the meeting today?
Attendance is not reasonably possible.
Okay, you got that, Linda. Susan. Is there anyone else in your location at this time?
And just me.
All right. And we'll do all votes by roll call tonight. And, yeah, that's it, right?
Yes,
Motion
the rest of
changed.
it's for,
Yeah.
maybe we could discuss at
So,
the end
okay.
of the meeting if there's time. But we should address the procedures to update them to include this as part of your standard procedures.
Okay. So, we'll do is, I don't know, should we address what you said or just move to the vote designation and then
Yeah, I would
after
do
we
the
have
voting
everything? Yeah,
designation
okay.
and then open the case, and then before they start testimony, actually discuss
Okay.
how you'd like to proceed with the case.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to do voting designations. We'll just do roll call. Ted Wilkinson.
Here.
Pam Sanderson.
Present.
Justin Miller's present. Betsy Colburn. She's participating electronically. And we got Tim Colby, the Board of Selectmen liaison. With that. And voting designation, all members present including Betsy Colburn, which is electronic. And we will move right to the minutes. Everybody have a chance to review the minutes of May 24th, 2021.
Yes.
Anybody have any changes, any corrections? They look pretty good and simple.
I have none, and I therefore move to approve these minutes of May 24th, 2021 as presented.
We have a motion by Ted. We have
Second.
we have a second by Pam. Any further discussion? All right. Ted, how do you vote?
Aye.
Pam?
Yes.
Justin's yes. And Betsy?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Minutes are done. Now we'll move to a new case, 21-4, Ralph and Denise Andrews, 411 Bow Lake Road, map 105, lot 10. Applicant seeks to replace existing seasonal residential home with a new year-round residential home and request the following relief.
You're going to have to stand over by in order to be on the live stream. And there's a right behind you there.
Microphone on the oven. So our discussion is whether to go to continuance or to open and hear, or to open here and then continue for deliberations. Did I get those three correct? Yeah.
Yeah, it was what? Discussion to either just straight continue this. We could hear it, discuss it, continue it. And what was the?
You could hear it and
oh,
then continue to deliver, and then next meeting
Yeah.
have a public session and deliberations.
Yeah.
So it depends on our questions and access to materials.
How's the board feel? Any opinions?
I would opt to, since everybody's here and we're ready to go and ready to hear how they present tonight, I'd like to proceed with that with just one quick question to Linda, and thank you for being here and for your years of wisdom on this sort of thing. Normally, I'm really leery of doing anything close to formal based on a plan that we know is not real. What I need how much variance is a loaded word. I shouldn't use that. How much discrepancy is there in setbacks that are presented in the current versus what we're going to see in the new plan? I mean, are they almost the same? Is it a technical or what? Where are we at?
Well, they're similar, but they're greater than what was originally. But I think the concern is that they were not available to abutters who may have come in during the time. That's one aspect of it. But more importantly, is that it was not submitted with the building permit application. And should there be a challenge in court, it always goes to, well, what was submitted with the building permit application? And you're hearing something that's different from that. If they came in and said, well, we've decided instead of 17 feet to the lot line, we're going to move it back and have it be 12, then it really wouldn't be so much a concern, because the abutter would have seen a worst case scenario and it's being reduced. But in this case, the setback is being encroached on greater than what was originally proposed.
And my feeling is that I'm seeing new information tonight for the first time, along with the new online information we had. So I have not had time to process. And with your new updated plans, I want to study those more. So my feeling is, yes, open, let's hear it, let's do our preliminary questions, discussions. But I would probably be looking at continuing, although not to a to the open session deliberation, but just continuing to, because there's probably going to be some questions that are going to need to be fulfilled at next meeting in that scenario. And that's just a question of my processing time.
In favor of the applicant, it actually works for them, because if you were to hear it tonight, and any abutter or any party that was nearby could appeal it 28 days from now, and that's going to push them further into the future.
Sure.
So even though there is a delay, The state septic has not yet been approved, although I understand, speaking with Mr. Frankelwood, said it's close, and also they need to receive the shoreland permit. And we did get a letter today at the town hall that there was some minor items that needed to be addressed. So
So more time is good for them also.
a building permit could not be issued.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely hear the case. Everybody's here. And I agree with you, Pam. I don't like having new information and trying to hype and rush through it and kind of figure things out. So I definitely, I would agree in regards to listening, hearing the case, whatever questions, if there's more information we need from them, perfect timing, we can ask them. So the next meeting, we can get any more information we may need from it. Betsy, how do you feel in this case? Do you have any concern, questions?
No, I agree.
All right, thank you.
Could I also ask that if you have some new paperwork for us, that we get a chance to look at it before you start? Okay. That way I won't be playing catch up as you speak. I kind of hate it when people are rustling papers and I'm trying to do an intro.
Well, the other dimension we actually didn't have was the septic. Is that?
Okay, all right. All right, so give us a couple minutes.
Let me get rid of this one.
If I could direct you a little bit to what to look at.
Give us a second and then we'll...
Does Betsy have a copy of this?
Oh, yeah, sure. Do you have an extra one?
No, but does Betsy have a copy at her house?
No, she doesn't.
No,
Does not.
she doesn't. No.
So she's going to need one mailed to her
Yeah, she
directly,
will.
or, yeah? Okay, I see.
You need this, I'm good. Okay, nope, keep it for your reference for now.
Gotcha. No date here. All right. Right there.
The only sheet that changed that I just handed out is that first sheet, well, the second sheet of proposed plot plan. Everything else is the same.
For that.
Does everybody have a copy of that revised agenda that was on the top of that packet?
Stapled one with the letters?
There are 3 copies stapled together here if we need an extra one for the record.
Minutes?
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Did you get one?
Yeah, you gave me that one, but
Oh,
before
okay.
you gave me this one, I did, yes.
Oh, okay.
So he's got the packet with the letter.
Yeah.
So, just to clarify
Yes.
what I did on that, it's a little different from the other one, but
It is.
the reason for that is because the 2 items that were noted separately are actually part of the variance request for an expansion from seasonal to year-round.
Which kicks you
So,
over to 4.
there are 2 aspects of it, so I more or less put them underneath it rather
see that.
than that they need a separate variance.
I see
So
that.
there's really 2 variances, but the one has a number of items that need
Facets.
to be addressed within it.
Yeah, because it kicks you over to Article 4, so.
Correct.
And that has to be addressed. I got that. You got that?
Yep,
Yep.
I'm with you.
All right, you all set, Pam?
I am. I'm ready for you to begin if you want.
All right, Mr. Frankowitz, if you just want to introduce who you have and yourself?
Evening, Scott Frankowitz from New Hampshire Land Consultants. With me tonight is Ralph and Denise Andrews, the owner of the property, and Mike Witcher, the builder of the structure. I'll go through the existing conditions and then the proposed conditions and the 3 waivers we're asking for, and then talk about the pending waivers with DES. So existing on the lot, which is on the left side of this plan, is about a 7,600 square foot lot, 0.17 acres. It has a seasonal cottage on it. It was built in 1953. About 800 square feet total enclosed living area, with about a 400 square foot garage attached to it in the back, and then a deck on the front, about 340 square feet. The lot is serviced by a private well and septic, like everything around here. And what we're proposing is to replace that cottage with a modern cottage, and we submitted renderings of what that cottage is going to look like with the application. It's going to be 1,150 square foot footprint with a 280 foot garage and about a 210 foot deck on the front. During the review with DES, one of the comments that came up is they got a threshold of 30%. We were over that, so what we decided to do is bring it. They wanted to either do a whole stormwater plan, which on this lot doesn't really make sense. It's such a small lot. So what we're proposing to them now, and they suggested, was pervious pavers for about 600 square feet of that parking, of the driveway up towards the garage. And that's on that plan, shoreline plan that's submitted and was resubmitted to shoreline. And the other state permit that's pending is the septic design or septic approval. And again, that can't be issued until the shoreline's approved. So once the shoreline's approved, I'll issue that I have to submit it to subsurface and then they'll approve the septic. They reviewed it, only had that comment. Then a comment about a budding well, which I've addressed as well.
Of those radiuses.
And the 3 variances we're asking for is from Article, what is that Roman number?
7C4.
7C4.
7C4, 8, and 7, or 4B, 4B,
4B.
and then Article 7D, which is the expansion. The change on the plan, that was what Linda was talking about, is on those certified plot plans. On the proposed certified plot plan, there was a dimension of 15.7, I think it was, kind of halfway up the house. That was a left. It's not on this plan here, but it was in this vicinity on that one that was probably in your application that you reviewed already. That was revised because it was not on the corner of the house. The corner of the house, the overhang is 14 feet from the property line, and that's the only change. A few things about the difference between the existing and the proposed. The existing garage on the backside is, in this location right here, is 3.1 feet from the property line. The closest we're coming with the proposed in that location is 5.7, so it's getting further away from the back property line. And staying roughly the same on the other right side, which is, it was 17.5 existing, it's 17.9 now. And then the other property line along the left side of the property, the closest we're getting is 14 feet, where the house itself was at 15.7 originally, so we're getting about 1.5 feet closer on that side to make all the dimensions work. Linda had also mentioned that we didn't have dimensions on the septic. To make the septic work on this lot, we had to go by state regulations, which is 10-foot property line setbacks. The closest is the corner of the tank, it's 10.1. And then the leach field is, the closest the leach field is to a property line, which is the front property line, is 10.6, and then it's further than that from the abutter. It's a modern system, modern geomat system, which gets us a small footprint, 2-bedroom system. And of course, that will be state approved and state installed by a licensed installer. I think that covers everything. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You mentioned 30% state compliant, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Pam.
30%.
No.
The state threshold is 30%.
Well-
Referring to what, please?
At 30%, you have to have a PE design a
At
storm.
what 30%?
30% impervious.
Pervious, okay. And we've got, what, lot coverage at
28% now.
40. For all developments, low coverage by low permeable surfaces shall not exceed the following percentages.
Oh, the town is 40%.
40%.
We're
So-
well below the town threshold, and we actually went below the 30% now. for the
Okay.
state.
All right. And that is with those those pavers?
Yes.
Thank you. Just wanted clarity on that 30.
Ted, do you have any initial questions?
No, just general procedural stuff. Of course, we'll need to see the actual final certified plot plan, but so will all of the other applicants. Of course, any totally hypothetical future action by our part will necessarily be conditional on shoreline protection permits and state septic permits and all of the other necessary state limits. We always add that to the language of our decision in the end, but we're a long way away from that just yet. And it is important that this plan be submitted and made public as soon as possible so that abutters who may have specific concerns because they know the site a whole lot better than we do have an opportunity to give input before the next probably continued public hearing.
All right, thanks.
Other general questions?
I took a trip out to the property. There's a shed. Is that the neighbor's shed or is that on your property? As you go up near to the right of the garage.
On the right side, it's actually encroaching on two people's properties, and it's going to be removed.
Okay. Okay.
I have other questions, but that's the maybe
Betsy, do you have any questions?
introductory, but general.
All right, go Pam.
General questions, just for me in looking at the site and the dimensions and parameters are, having non-conforming with an existing building on it. If you're sticking to the existing building footprint, that's one topic. When you go to a new construction, then this is where you cross over into all of the other requirements. And there is an ability here, I'm looking at garage and deck as non-living space is what I'm thinking of, and that there is an ability here to better conform to the lot, to the setbacks. And usually when you're in a small lot with a non-conforming lot, there is a a given that you're going to try and fit in as well as possible, and to come into as much compliance as possible. I understand, like in frontage, you can't. It is what it is, and there's also the recognition that it is has had a pre-existing structure on it, so that would not preclude building on it. It's just the idea of coming into better compliance, and I would have trouble looking at deck and garage, which are the two. Well, the garage is a major offender. The deck itself it precludes the house pushing the garage back further by allowing for that large deck towards the front, and that kind of. So I'm just wondering why in your design plan or your thoughts you did not forget the deck for the moment, further forward to bring your garage more into compliance.
It is in more conformance than existing.
It is more than it is now.
Right. Our
But in
proposed
terms of new structure, we're looking at the regular Article 4. So
and it was a very difficult twist and turn kind of play with the building.
I'm
to
seeing
get
that too,
the
yeah.
best that we could. If we move it forward, we're going to get closer to that left. If you're looking at the road from the house, you're going to get closer to that lot line, which will be closer than existing. And on the back side, we are further away by 2 feet or more from the back property line. So pushing it forward would actually, it would push it closer to that left lot line, which existing is 17, I think we're right around the same, 17.5. We're at 17.9. I think the area you're talking about.
So was there any consideration for a smaller structure to conform? A foot.
I would have to have Mr. Andrews or Mr.
Those are just my general.
Witcher to speak to that, because I'm preparing the permit plans, and I think it's just a structure that works for them.
I am Mike Witcher, Witcher Builders. We did struggle to push the structure down as small as possible. This is a very small structure. There's really not a lot of living space, and the deck is very marginal. It's not very big.
Can I have the dimension? Do we have actual dimensions of the new proposed structure on here? I don't think we do.
I didn't bring my glasses.
Yeah, so we're
Sure,
not
it's on
seeing
there.
actual dimensions of, how many feet on this side, that side, the whole bit. So that would be something for next meeting that would probably be helpful for me, is to see.
You want house plans or what?
The actual house itself is not in my book. That's not my main concern. It's more of the.
I think the other thing we did try
It's more
to
of the
do,
setbacks. What do you get? What's the footage? What's all of that?
I believe the setbacks are shown on here.
The setbacks are shown, but your building size, like
There is
each
a
side.
pair of readers over there.
I got cheated here, Michael.
Right here?
I got cheated
We're all needing magnifiers nowadays.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I don't
can
see.
now.
I don't see any
I'm seeing
house.
on this.
I don't see any house size like it. This L is 4 feet. This L is 9 feet. I don't see any of that.
No, there's definitely none of that on there.
And that would be helpful for me.
We can do that.
Trying to wrap my head around reasons for placement and for the setbacks, and again looking at better compliance of a non-conforming lot. Once you step into Article 4, you're into that realm of actual new construction and the amount of things that have to be complied with. So, and the things you can give leeway to, like frontage, it is what it is.
I would say everything is in more compliant except for that 14.
It's in more compliant than the existing building, but in
Correct.
terms of Article 4 compliance, it's nowhere near.
I guess I don't understand that. I'm not sure. If we're more compliant than existing, it is more compliant as.
But once you start a new building, new construction, you're back to square one on Article 4. So to be in compliance.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I hear
Speaking to
exactly
the mic.
where you're coming from.
Thank you.
As you know, I was a contrarian in a prior decision having to do with a radically undersized lot that had never been developed and that did not have a building on it. To me, that's kind of a different situation. And it's not that Part 7 overrides Part 4 of our development ordinance, but there's some pretty open language here encouraging the conversion of seasonal dwellings, expansion and conversion of seasonal dwellings. So it's an interesting sort of conceptual carve-out that seems to be in direct opposition with the clear directive in Part 4 saying, oh, and by the way, if you change anything, you've got to make it better. Well, based on, I'm not sure, and so at this point, I'm prepared to see this through the lens of expansion and conversion of seasonal dwelling. Yes, the building may be a little bit bigger, but that, in my opinion, is not purely new construction. I mean, they're tearing down and replacing an old dilapidated house. That's good. The tax value is going to go up in the tax count. That's good. The neighbors will, I mean, many good things will come from it. But it's also true that this is a wildly non-compliant lot in nearly every way. And in my opinion, were it not for the fact that they're replacing a funky old building with a better one, I would have a hard time on this. But I'm keeping an open mind.
And this is where we're in
Mr.
that.
Chairman.
I think it'd be interesting to say that, you know, as a builder, we could match this foundation line and max out exactly what's there. Under your statement.
You really can't do much if you have an existing footprint.
So we could take this existing footprint and build all, is what you're saying, in place.
Am I correct, Linda, that if they stayed with the existing footprint, then you're not in new construction. You are in that
You're a
seasonal, but you're in.
renovation, but if I could get back to, just for a minute
Sure.
to clarify something that was just stated. The zoning ordinance that was approved by the Northwood voters addressing expansion and conversion of seasonal to year-round dwellings. The reason the planning board put that in place was based on a court case, whereas someone said, well, brought a case forward, it was the town of Epsom, and basically what came out of it was that towns cannot enforce seasonal to year-round conversions unless there's language within the zoning ordinance that allows for that. That was put before the voters and that was approved. What that ordinance states is that it must comply with 4.
It has to.
So it isn't, it's saying that if you're going to convert a seasonal to year-round, it must be on a standard lot with standard frontage. Otherwise, you need to come to the zoning board and convince the zoning board that it meets the criteria that the state requires you to hear.
Can I ask a side question after?
Just one follow-up. I would suggest at this point to take any final comments. I know Ms. Coburn hasn't had a chance to follow up on this part, but to go through the questions now, rather than having the testimony prior to those questions being asked, and that could be difficult to discern on the record. So if you go through your questions, and as each item comes up, then you can address the concerns that you're addressing at the front end.
2 things. You got to hear from abutters first.
Can you talk on the mic?
You got to hear from abutters first before you go to the 4 points, I believe. And also, I had a question to the town on non-conforming lot 7C4. And that is the lots whose maximum width of 100 feet or less shall use the following formula. So that's why I'm interested too in dimensions, because it clearly states the side and rear setbacks shall never be less than 10 feet. Right? And so I had that question of, is this applicable here?
Yes, it is. And the building inspector determined that looking at 95 feet of frontage, that the setback would be 19. Now, I realize this is not a current plan, but I do have, if you're curious to see it, a plan that shows that original proposal, and the pink is the setback of 19 feet.
Of 19? Okay.
So you can see which little parts of it go beyond it.
Is there a way we can hold that for the camera for Betsy?
Camera's up there to the left. To the left.
Where's the camera?
Over there. I don't think she's gonna see
Can you
that.
see a little bit? Can you see all the pink?
She has that plan as far as, you know, she has the plan, she just
All
doesn't have
right,
it.
thank,
But it is 19 feet.
all right,
Or,
thank you.
actually, I think the statute,
So there's a lot of little
one of them
details
has
here
to
to
be
be,
20,
there's a lot of details here to be discussed.
and I don't know if that's a draft.
Yeah, the setback is 20, so that, well, I did see the 19.
Yes, it's
And I
19.
went,
But the 7, let me get that 7, the non-conforming,
but it is in there on 7C4, and it does clearly state the side and rear setback shall never be less than 10. And that's on non-conforming.
so the front setback has to be 20.
Right. Front doesn't change, side and rear change by that formula.
Right. So the front needs to be the full 20, not the 19 where the septic is. Just a foot difference.
But I think we could go through the questions. Of course, we're not going to vote anyway, and you're right that the butters need to have more input. But if you're suggesting that we can take the testimony and evidence from the applicants tonight on the 5 variance questions per variance, I'm happy to do that. Is that the suggestion?
I'm just going to check with Betsy if she has anything before we jump right into the questions. Is that good?
I'm just wondering, like, with the questions, with,
I would also
If there would
ask
be
in
more
case
questions
Anybody
after.
in the audience, I mean, I think I know who's here, but in case anybody is here for this case, other than those who have already been
the
identified.
same thing with the
Yeah,
butters.
before,
somebody
yeah.
Right,
Called in or anything
right,
like
no,
that.
you were identified.
Betsy, do you have anything further before we get into the questions?
No, I'm all set.
All right. And
I do have one
I've-
more thing on where the house is located that I'm thinking of.
You want to throw that in? Sure.
So the reason for the placement of the house is the leach field. The
Gotcha.
leach field, we have to be 15 feet from the house. So we have 15 feet from that corner of the house to the corner of the leach field. That leach field can't be pushed forward anymore. So everything's squeezed right in by about a tenth.
Okay. And I forgot to ask, Mr. Andrews, are you all right with we have only a quorum of 3 here tonight?
Yes.
You are okay with that? All right, thank you. So any members, any abutters present, anybody that'd like to speak from the public on this case? I don't see anybody. We will go right into the questions. Let me find that. Wonder Lisa.
Feature article, so
Just
I
had
know,
it, yeah.
I know
I
I'm
just-
on the right page.
Just had it, I gotta find it now. Which one? Let's see. I'm gonna do 4B. Let's see. Start with 4B, section 4B. We'll start with that one. Is that the right one?
4B is the first.
4B. All right. We'll start with 4B, section 4B of the zoning permit. Structure set back to the property line and septic. All right. Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public's interest because
The existing home was built in 1956, currently in disrepair with a septic system of unknown type, size, and condition. Allowing a New Hampshire DES approved septic system to be built on this property will not be contrary to the public interest.
All right. The use is not contrary to the spirit of the ordinance because
The proposed home will be built to current building codes, including installing a new New Hampshire DES septic system, improving the current situation.
granting the variance would do substantial justice because
The existing 1956 home is in disrepair with unknown type, size, and condition system. This will allow the applicant to construct a septic system that will allow them to occupy the home year-round if they desire.
the proposed use would not diminish surrounding property values because
The existing home was built in 1956 and is in disrepair. The proposed home will be built to current building codes and will not diminish surrounding property values. In contrast, it will have the opposite effect and increase the value of the subject property and potentially surrounding properties.
Literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship because the special conditions of this property that distinguish it from other properties in the area are as follows.
The existing home was built in 1956 as a seasonal home, and the applicant proposes to replace the home with a year-round home built to current building codes. The existing home is not convertible to year-round occupancy without great cost, making it unfeasible.
Owing to the special conditions of the property set forth above that distinguishes it from other properties in the area, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance and the specific application of that provision to the property because
The current leach field is as close, if not closer, than the proposed leach field and is of unknown type, size, and condition. The new leach field will be constructed as approved by New Hampshire DES.
the proposed use is reasonable one because
The applicant is replacing a 1956 seasonal home with a year-round home built to current building codes and standards in the area of year-round homes.
and then
Is it going with A or B?
are you doing the A or B of the literal enforcement of question 5? I saw that
Yeah, you
you
answered
filled
both.
out B too.
Yeah, I think we meet A, so.
Just A? Okay.
A.
Allow both.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I did fail to note, I think I mentioned it earlier, but the abutter did provide email testimony, and I will read the very last one if you'd like into the record.
Sure.
I think you have a copy of everything up until 4:41 this afternoon. It says, fast-moving afternoon, I am now in receipt of the updated plan showing the 14-foot setback. We continue to have no objection to the variances being requested, which are really unrelated to the plan questions we have.
And who was that from, Linda?
That is from Michael and Alicia Fix, which is the abutter to the right side of the property, I believe. Yes.
As you stand on it. Look at it.
Thank you. Any members have any questions in regards to 4B, section 4B? Those questions?
The existing septic is approximately where the new septic is, maybe in the vicinity.
Where we did the test pit that's shown on the plan, we were right at the edge of it,
Yep.
going, I think it goes back to the house. Like, nobody knows what's there, so.
Right, so
So it's roughly in the same place, but closer to that property.
definitely an improvement, and looking at the slope that you have there, there's not much else option for placement, and
And
see it
again-
as a definite improvement anytime you take an old septic and make it new, so. Now, the 20 feet, just for Linda, the 20 feet town, is that superseded by the state 10 feet? I'm just
Yes,
kind of
for
like,
septic,
yeah.
but we
for
would still
se-
require the 20 feet. Or a variance.
All right,
for the
so,
septic. The town, the state standard is 10.
all right, so it still requires a variance, but in mind, the state's 10 is acceptable for septic.
Correct.
But we would require like 20 for building
For
on the
structures,
front,
and
on
it falls
structure,
under our structure
on the front.
definition.
Just to give you a little scenario on that in town, because I'm running into it on other properties, if you've got a 50-foot wide lot, your septic system only has to be 10 feet to the town standard because of that calculation. So you can go below 20 feet. This one could be 19 without a variance.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Because there's other lots in town that are lake lots that are 50 feet wide.
Yeah.
The septic system would only have to be 10 feet with no variance to those lot lines.
So I'd like to clear up, just so that it's on the record and everything's very clear. These setbacks are not that 4B, they are the 7, because it is an undersized lot, you've got
Right.
a non-conforming section first.
Right.
So the setbacks that they're asking for are both the septic and the encroachment of the structure fall under 7C, not 4B.
You lost me.
Because it's an undersized lot, so they have 19. So the answers are appropriate, but I'm just saying.
You're just talking
I want to be sure that we're
septic?
stating the right statute that they're asking relief from.
The article and section's not
Right.
correct from this one. The
So
ones,
there's no confusion in the future.
for what they answer the questions for is actually, no,
No, it seems right. 4B.
no,
Time out.
yeah, hold on.
That was a little bit of
That
the
was-
confusion on it, was the way that it says
4B,
non-conforming lots
septic
and
within
all that.
20
But
feet.
it is 7C4. Both of the setbacks would fall under that one non-conforming formula,
Oh,
as we
yeah.
call it, for the 19 feet.
So it's
For the setback, for the septic.
in the
Septic
property,
and the structure.
structure.
Okay, now, that's where you're going to lose me, and perhaps when we get to structure, you can, clarify there, because we're on septic right now, so.
Septic system is a structure in the town of Northwood.
I'm good with septic. It's,
Both of their structure setbacks would fall under that. Whether you would like
So-
separate testimony on each one, that's up to you, but both would come under that one
when you say both,
ordinance. Both
you're
the
talking
septic
all of
and
the side and the back, you're including in that at 19 feet?
Yes.
All structure
So you're
setbacks.
concerned about lot size or frontage.
No, I'm not concerned about frontage, because
Comes on the next
it is
one
what it
that we're gonna
is.
hear after.
It is what it is. We're talking the septic right now. And then when we get to others, it'll be that question of not 20 feet, but 19 feet, and I'll still be asking the same questions.
No, we're there now, that's what they're addressing. The 19 feet for the septic and the structure.
Yeah, we started out doing 4, now we're on 7. It's the
Right, the
second.
4 is an incorrect
You're quoting the 4.
ordinance.
Yeah, now
So
you
it
got me
was
lost.
7C4.
They're both under that, they're not under 4B, whatever.
So it's not
That
4B,
is-
4B.
So, right here, right now, bit of a procedural roadblock having nothing to do with you, but having to do with, and by the way, it's nice to see you, but I loved having the mountains behind you on screen. Give me a second. So, technically, you're at D. All right. So I'm kind of lost there.
You have your revised agenda, Pam?
I do, and I'm just
That's your
mixing and
job.
matching the two and doing the research and figuring out the so 7C4 lot size and frontage, okay. And now we're at 7D. 7D is the conversion. All right. So, all right. So the first sheet that he just read.
Variance from article.
Really should
No
come
performance.
under 7C.
Yeah. So,
7, yeah.
yeah, we've got 3 applications for variance.
Well, there's really
Really only 2.
Two.
So one can see the confusion there on that, so that's all right. That's a procedural thing of passing out the paperwork.
I think what would help would be just to understand that you could just simply ask them to read the other,
Two.
the
One,
other
two.
information, and then you have all the testimony, and know it all falls under that one ordinance.
Okay, we'll give it a shot.
Before we go, let me see if Betsy has anything just off what he just read. Betsy, do you have anything in regards to what Mr. Frankowitz just read? Do you have any questions or any concerns about?
No,
All right, thank you.
thanks.
The only question I have, what makes this what's special about this property? I understand that the home was built in 1956 as a seasonal home. There's multiple seasonal homes over there. What makes this property special? That's kind of,
Or unique.
yeah, unique, special. What's different about it?
It's undersized.
Yeah, tiny lot size.
Okay.
It says the existing home has been used for 55, 60 years.
Okay.
It does have a structure on it. And it's a property that somebody wants to use right now, not go for disrepair. Improve it.
All right. We'll go on to, oh gosh, I don't know. I'm so lost right now.
I am too. I think it's the middle one.
So we're going to go to 7D, expansion and conversion of a seasonal dwelling lot size and frontage.
Before you go forward with that, are you satisfied that you have all the answers for both house and septic?
No.
No, I thought we were going to go right through all the questions and figure it out, because right now I'm confused in regards to the articles.
You only gave testimony for septic, correct?
Right, the next, that's 7C4, which we're committed to.
Right. Do you want him to read that on the record?
I believe it's fully
Didn't he
redundant.
just read 7C? No, wait a minute, 7C. 7C4 was the next in our packet, and then after that you've got the 7D.
Maybe this will make it clear. They submitted 3 applications.
Yep.
One had the wrong ordinance on it because they could ask for a relief under that, but they're asking for the 19 feet, not 20. So if you just take that first one on the top, you put 7C on it, you'll have 2 that say 7C, and then 1 that's different. One is for septic, one is for house. I'm just asking whether you want separate testimony for the house, or you're satisfied simply by hearing the first testimony.
No, I took it that he was discussing septic. So that's all that I heard was
We'll just-
septic.
Then you would go to the 7C.
The next
We'll just move to the next page in the application. We'll just go through this whole application, hear all the testimony, and then from there, we can try and figure out what we're doing.
excellent choice.
All right. Next one's the variance is requested from Article 7, Section C4 of the zoning ordinance to permit non-conforming lot size and frontage. Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because
The proposed home will move the current situation. The existing home is 3.1 feet from the property line, and the proposed home will be no closer than 5.7 feet from the property line.
the use is not contrary to the spirit of the ordinance because
The proposed home will be further from the property line than the current home that resides in.
granting the variance would do substantial justice because
It would allow the applicant to build a year-round home, built to meet current building codes and New Hampshire DES regulations. The existing home was built in 1956 as a seasonal home.
the proposed use would not diminish surrounding property values because
The existing home was built in 1956 and is in disrepair. The proposed home will be built to current building codes and not diminish the surrounding value. In contrast, it will have the opposite effect and increase the value of the subject property and potentially surrounding.
literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship because the special conditions of this property that distinguish it from other properties in the area are as follows.
The existing home was built in 1956 as a seasonal home, and the applicant proposes to replace the home with a year-round home built currently.
Owing to the special conditions of the property set forth above that distinguishes it from other properties in the area, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance and the specific application of that provision to the property because all right. 2, the proposed use is a reasonable one because
The applicant is replacing a 1956 seasonal home with a year-round home built to current building standards in the area of year-round home.
So that was the non-conforming lot size and frontage. What?
Mr. Chairman, part
Yes.
of the reason I was concerned that all the testimony is out tonight is that we are on live stream, and although there's a lot of year-round homes there, there's also seasonal. And I know, for example, that one of the abutters said there was no way that they could drive here.
Right.
Or, and we're not on Zoom anymore, so they can't, interact that way. So if they're able to hear it and had any questions, they could provide them for the next meeting.
Right, just don't be pushing too much, too fast.
I mean,
Still getting out of the confusion.
right, and I think it works for us as a board too, because then we can go back and look at the minutes and see, kind of digest everything too, and kind of take a look at the minutes and the plans at the same time and kind of digest it. So,
Right, it does need
yeah,
adjustment.
and I think it works for everybody
If we're
personally.
pushing too much, then that's not good.
All right. Want to just keep going right to the next one, and then do you have any questions based off this?
Lot size and frontage, I think, I do have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Pam.
Should we do that? Let me see, I was trying to do like some of the calculations previous on lot size and square footage. The 95 feet of frontage is what it is, and I can't see a problem. I mean, it is what it is. It's within the 150, it's, 2/3, that's not too bad. Where I get down to trying to calculate of 2 acres, what 7,569 square feet is, and I had to go into the conversions and all to find out how many square feet in an acre, how many square feet in 2 acres. So it comes down to like 0.1737 of an acre. So it's less than 0.18. It would round to 0.17 for lot size, which does put it as small. And I think that would be my point there, is that you've been used to dealing with small lots and getting things to fit as best as possible. So that was a point in my mind on the lot size, and putting the bigger structure and just questioning the living space, having maximum living space versus having the push-outs of the deck in the garage. So that would be where I'm going to question.
That is on the, I was able to find that on the building permit application. I don't know if it's still exactly the same, but it does state on the submittal of the building permit that the total square footage,
We don't have the building permit.
I know, I do.
Okay.
The existing is shown as 735 square feet on the existing structure, and the request is for 2 stories, 1,700 square feet.
Right, I'm talking about lot size.
Oh, I thought you had asked about the size, the square footage of the living space.
No, I've been asking about the lot size is 0.17
Right.
of 2 acres.
80,000 is 1.8. So.
Right, so 87,000 is what, 2 acres.
Right.
No, I was asking about the lot size, because that's what the
sorry, I
variance
thought you
is
had
for.
asked about
See, we're
that.
at all kinds of cross things tonight. Gotta stop this. Yeah, no, my question was living space, not the square footage, But if we're looking at building placement, setback issue, of living space, it's the placement of the building, not so much the size of it. And if you're talking about building placement, it's the two things that are non-living space, the deck and the garage, which would be my like, is there something we can do here? Okay, but thank you for the square footage of the building.
Betsy, do you have anything in regards to the lot size right now and the frontage?
I'm good.
Ted?
No, it is as presented. I'm surprised that they didn't opt for proposal B owing to special conditions. If they claim the special conditions because it's such a teeny tiny lot, then this seems to be it's an easy move from there. Property cannot be reasonably used in strict conformance with the ordinance, and a variance is therefore necessary to enable a reasonable use of it because it's so very small. That's how I would complete that thought. And maybe then we'd only have to do one variance per home conversion if the initial variance were for conversion from seasonal to... I'm just trying to think of a simpler way than grinding through 5 questions and 5 questions and 5 questions.
Right.
Thank you for taking us through this.
Yeah, we have to. And now I've lost the packet again. No.
This one?
We're totally out of shape.
That one? You looking for the pack for the questions?
No, that's...
Oh.
Yeah, actually. I am.
Yep. All right. Once you get there, we'll go with the last set of questions.
I absolutely think too much. Just
All right. We'll move right on to the expansion and conversion of a seasonal dwelling lot. Expansion and conversion of seasonal dwelling lot size and frontage. Article 7, Section D. Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because
The existing home was built in 1956 and is currently in disrepair. The new construction will increase the value of the property and provide year-round occupancy of the house.
the use is not contrary to the spirit of the ordinance because
The proposed home will be built to current building codes, including installing a New Hampshire DES-approved septic system, improving the current situation.
granting the variance would do substantial justice because
The existing 1956 home is in disrepair and is a seasonal home. This will allow the owners to occupy the home all year if they desire.
the proposed use would not diminish surrounding property values because
The existing home was built in 1956 and is in disrepair. The proposed home will be built to current building codes and will not diminish the surrounding property values. In contrast, it will have the opposite effect and increase the value of the subject property and potentially surrounding properties.
literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship because the special conditions of this property that distinguish it from other properties in the area are as follows.
The existing home was built in 1956 as a seasonal home, and the applicant proposes to replace the home with a year-round home built to current building codes.
Owing to the special conditions of the property set forth above that distinguishes it from other properties in the area, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public No fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance and the specific application of that provision to the property because
The existing home, serviced by an unknown septic system, is closer to the property lines than proposed to allow the applicant to replace a cottage built in 1956 and is in disrepair.
the proposed use is a reasonable one because
The applicant is replacing a 1956 two-bedroom seasonal home with a year-round two-bedroom home built to current building codes standards in the area for year-round homes.
All right. And you filled out the B. Are you sticking with your DA?
Yep.
All right. So that was for the expansion and conversion of seasonal dwelling lot size and frontage. Ted, do you have anything based off of those answers we received?
Well, I
Any questions?
haven't heard an actual answer to the question of what makes the lot or the situation unique. I mean, everything was out there was a seasonal dwelling once upon a time, but that's okay. That's just I'm trying to figure out. But and I appreciate you guys answering every one of these questions and submitting your answers. No, I'm good for now.
All right. Pam, what do you have?
I'm agreeing with Ted as far as unique, and I think you have of your special conditions that some thought there as to unique. I can't give you suggestions, but there are some features that some folks might point out are unique about that property that would help satisfy the question. It's got something there.
Nope. Betsy, do you have anything in regards to the 5 questions?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
All right. I'm all set. And that's why the first variance I asked about the special conditions,
Right.
like what makes it special.
Right.
That's my biggest thing with any of these, especially the conversions from seasonal to year-round. That's my biggest question. Actually, a lot of the applications that can be for us with the variances is what makes your property different, or what's special about your property that makes it stand out. So maybe that's just something to kind of think about. Maybe you'll have an answer next meeting or something. But that one I always get tied up on personally. Now, do we have? Any board members have anything you want to request from the applicant? So we can kind of.
By plot plan, actual setbacks, actual dimensions.
Do you want dimensions of
Building?
the building dimensions, or?
Well, how do we arrive at setback considerations unless we have a certified plot plan and building dimensions? Okay. And all I want to know is what we are being asked to approve. Mm-hmm. And I haven't yet seen a clear picture of that. I know where we're going with it, and I appreciate it, but that's all I need. I mean, I've already mentioned the other permits that are that, but everybody knows that anyway. And if hypothetically we do continue the public hearing till time and date certain, then we can, in fact, I believe, take more testimony and refined answers from the applicant as well as a better input. That's where I'm at.
Okay. I'm in agreement with Ted as far as some clarity on dimensions and some, I know back and forth, we've got some details over here, but yeah, dimensions of this, how big's the deck, to the side the whole bit that I can look at.
You're asking for dimensions of the house itself?
Like feet, like it's 4 feet wide. I can see what the footprint.
Which would be on a house.
Intended footprint and stuff. Another question is, going back to the impervious, the driveway is not intended to be paved?
Portion of it, about 600 square feet.
All right.
From where this hatching is on that plan I handed out, that's pervious pavement. This will be paved down here where it's a little bit steeper.
So of that percentage of 40, your less than 30 that you quoted was including the factoring in the paved surface?
Yeah, we were around, I think, 36 or something with DES, and to get under their 30%, we added that pervious.
And you added the pavers. Okay, yeah. The pervious. Thank you.
Betsy, do you have anything you would like to see next meeting? I know we'll get you the new plans that we just received tonight. We'll make sure you get a copy of those. But do you have anything you can think of you would like to see for next meeting?
That and what the others were mentioned, and I'm good.
Okay, thank you. So, so you guys are just a certified plot plan. If we can get a copy of that. And just the measurements of the deck and the house, if we can get that. And Linda, could you send us a copy of the building permit? Yeah. Could we also get a copy of that so we can kind of take a look at that also? I don't know, is there anything else are you guys consent now?
Probably a silly question maybe for the builder, but on that garage out to the back, and you've got that deck and front space with the wider setback, so that you're not close to that front setback on the deck. Any ability, like,
So the deck's only 8 feet wide.
yeah,
So
and,
it's almost, with a table on the deck, the 8 feet is about as small as you can go to make it useful.
right,
6 feet, you really can't use it as, it becomes much less usable. So we did limit it, they wanted 10 or 12, and I said, no, you can't do that. We'll do the minimum that we can use, that we put a picnic table on and get around. So, some consideration was given to try to make that still usable, yet as small as possible.
yeah,
And making it as wide as the front of the building, aesthetically, I'll bring in a rendering so you can see it a little bit better, but aesthetically, it's the design of the roof of the building that drives the width of the deck. It's kind of like a covered front porch.
Yeah.
So, we worked on the quaintness of the building to try to make it look as lake responsible
Right.
as possible, which is what we try to do with most of our designs. Instead of putting a box out there that isn't attractive, this house is very attractive.
right,
But we need the little bump outs and the angles to make that happen.
right,
So to answer your question before, we could square this up a little bit, make it a little bit more conforming, but aesthetically, it
right.
won't
And
be as
aesthetics
pleasing.
aren't,
But aesthetics are one of the reasons
Yeah.
we're here, because it satisfies the neighbors and the requirement to bring the house into a conforming
that-
status
in-
for the neighborhood.
in that
So,
regard, yeah.
In that sense, a little bit of leeway there lends a lot to
and I know
the
it's a
design.
horrifying question to ask a builder, but to have garage doors at the front of the building,
So there are
I'm like
garage-
actually feeling bad that my garage doors face the front. And it's like you have that leeway
Of bringing
with
the garage
that
to the
deck.
front of the building?
You got 8 feet, and you've got a small. That's why the dimensions. I'm wanting to know more. It's just I'm just
aesthetically-
looking at that back setback.
Aesthetically, bringing the garage doors to the front of a building would be,
But aesthetically versus the 10 feet must never be less than 10 feet.
so one of the other reasons for the garage to be in the back
Yeah.
is for the usability of the building, because they're an elder couple and they're going to get older here. But having
Aren't we all?
a single floor living is really a reality. So any
Yeah.
way to bring the garage to the front of the building would have dropped it down to the lower level, and it would really not make it a useful situation for them. So one of the requirements to try to satisfy the client was to get a single floor living.
I got you.
So
I got you.
that drove a lot of the placement of the garage.
I got you.
And when you look at I can show you a rendering of the building, and I think you do have maybe not a color rendering, but you have a plan.
But if it's a single, it looks like it has a second floor, and it looks like it has to the front, down lower, and staircases.
So it does have a staircase to the deck, but that's to lead itself to the deck. So as you see, the lot, one of the special conditions of the lot is it's a sloping lot.
It is a sloping lot. and
So,
that-
so to try to design something that looks really appropriate in the lot.
right. So we got 3 levels here.
No, well,
Yeah.
2.5. I mean, the basement is not a very usable level.
Got a door.
Of a door. It's true. I can do that. It is usable.
Yeah. So I understand like single level, but if you're showing me 3 levels, it's okay.
It's 2.5 stories in the front and 2 stories in the back. But yes, I understand your point.
Yeah.
That window in the front is a loft. It is a cathedral, so it's not actually a living level right there.
I
but,
gotcha. I gotcha.
When you get to the back, it is a 2-story.
Okay.
So those are some of the requirements, and obviously the deck towards the front of the house where the lake is obviously desirable. Again, you asked about special reasons about a lot. The lot's special because it's on the lake, and trying to achieve the use of the lake or that into the design of the house is important to the people that buy lakefront lots. So that's some of the things that drove our decisions of how to place things on the lot.
All right.
One of the things I said in the past is that septic system put the living space anymore towards the road. because we need 15 feet for that from the actual foundation. The deck can be closer, but the foundation cannot be. So we're sticking that leach field up into the corner there. That bends that house layout where it is.
Yeah, you can't move the house.
But you were mentioning that front side.
Yeah, you can't move the house with your little outcropping there to the back of the leach field. It's more of move the shed, and that's a phrase that we just coined years ago, that if you have the ability to be in compliance, move the shed. And that's going to be that's going to be the sticking point for me, is that back 5 to 6 feet.
It is. It's only 18 feet long and 14 feet. We'll get the measurements, but I think it's about 14 feet wide.
Right.
So it's marginally, it's about as small as you can be to use a garage.
Yeah, I appreciate the dimensions.
And again, I think one of the calculations we did was to make sure that this house and its expenditures were more conforming than the previous property was.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I could mention
Sure.
two things. One is, Pam reminded me to talk about the shed. If there's a structure on there that's to be removed that exists, it should be put onto a certified plot plan with a note to be removed.
Okay. Yeah, I was,
Thank you, yeah.
we located when we did it, we thought it was going to be removed, so we removed it.
The other thing is, if you're going to request information, that you set a date to be received by, so that should abutters be listening tonight to the live stream or go on later, they would know if they wanted to contact the office to look at something, when it would be available.
Okay.
The planning board typically no less than 10 days prior to the next meeting, and that would give the board time to review as well.
So we've got October 1, 2, 3, 4. We're the 25th. So is that 10 days including weekends, or 10 days?
Maybe by close of business. I think we're
Are
just
you
taking a
talking
look too.
business days
Well, I guess commercial jobs.
and calendar
I guess
days?
commercial jobs would have to.
Well, if it was Friday the 15th of October, that would give them 10 days.
Yeah, we are the 25th, I believe.
Well, actually, if you make it the 14th, that way it could be mailed out.
Yeah, I would-
Weekend, so you'd have
yeah.
time to look at it.
I would definitely like the 14th.
Well, Mr. Chair, in the interest of moving things along,
Ted, can you just speak to the microphone? Just so Betsy can hear everybody else?
Sure.
Thank you.
In the interest of making progress here, I move that the board continue the still open public hearing on the application before us to our regularly scheduled meeting on October 25th. I believe that will start at 6:30, provided that the information that has been requested is delivered to the town building no later than October 14th.
And a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Second. All right, any further discussion? The applicant understands everything? All set with that? Okay.
And
All right.
I apologize for the confusion of the paperwork that
That-
was a little muddy
Yep.
there. I
That's fine.
apologize for that.
Yep. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Ted, how do you vote?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes?
Betsy? Yes. And I'm yes. Justin, thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure to leave the glass.
The cheaters. All right, so we're going to continue
So,
it.
hold on, continues. This is continue.
Oh, we can take a 2-minute break. 2-minute break. You can all
Yeah, we'll take a 2-minute break. Use the
2-minute break
facilities.
so you can pull out your papers and
Roll the commercials, Susan.
roll the commercials.
Tell Paul. Roll the commercials.
2-minute break, Betsy. You
To
can
get on the mic,
stretch,
gotta
do
say,
aerobics.
The different committees we need volunteers for.
Board of Selectmen meeting is tomorrow, and we got a liaison here that can put it out.
I'll be there.
I'll be listening on Wednesday morning driving to work.
Seriously?
Yeah, I listen to it the next day on my way to work. I put it on, and then I shut my phone off, and I get an hour and 10-minute drive to work every day. So I put it on, it gets me to work, and then at least, most of the time, 3/4 of the way home.
I'm usually listening to
I want to make it to come around
1940s.
the entrance where I would lose my inch.
By the way, unrelated to anything that has just happened, except passage of time, I need to be home by 9 o'clock because my grandson is working graveyard shift over in New England at 6 hours. I need a car to get to work in time.
So you gotta be home by 9?
Yeah,
what
so I
time?
need to leave at 10 before 9.
10 before 9.
Yeah, I think,
Just tell the applicant that.
yeah, we'll start by that.
I believe we would still have a quorum.
Depending where we're at.
With us. Would we not?
I think we have to have a quorum in person. I have to ask them, they're fine with the quorum in person.
Okay, okay.
But,
And make sure they're
yeah,
fine with 10.
we'll do that, and then, yeah, wherever we end by 9:15, because that's when we'll, 9:15.
Right, if possible.
That's
Yes,
it.
Betsy?
Can we take a quick break before we start the next?
We are.
Yes, sorry, yep, 2 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, she must not be talking into the mic.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
tough.
Now then.
This.
Just another fascinating meeting.
Yeah, I apologize for getting.
No, I just,
It was
I
like,
don't-
what, wait, huh?
I just,
Because I was going through the paperwork.
I just don't
and
like getting new
Normally,
stuff.
we have an agenda like this.
Right.
And the agenda we got was bigger.
And then
So-
there were
and then
two
normally
variance requests and
it
then
has
two
a-
variance requests.
Yeah,
and
and then it
then
has all the variances on top, and then there's 3 variances. So I got flummoxed there, and then wait a minute, if this bounces you over to 4, then like she kind of lost me. So I was like, what? Wait a minute, I did.
Well, I've got to go back and forth between those two and make sure I understand exactly where the
Right,
line is,
it's
because there's
like-
definitely a
now I'm confused.
tension between those two.
And then other lines that say, this is the way it is, and it's like, well, wait, huh?
That's the thing about structures. The septic system is a structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, but that's.
Is that so they can tax it? That's so it can be taxed? It's not a bad thing, don't get me wrong.
Bob didn't give us an update on Northwood numbers. Just came.
Secret behind your
Yeah.
He wouldn't have gotten anything over the weekend. He might have.
Yeah. He never posts on the weekend because they don't do it anymore. So they have Fridays count, but wait, Northwood, no.
We're still on